Today I want to talk about Jalen Hurts, Taysom Hill, and the free agency that is impending for many of the league's, better quarterbacks. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about New Orleans Saints quarterback, in quotes, Taysom Hill, Jalen Hurts, and how all of this affects it at the NFL free agency level. Because we know that Tom Brady is going to hit free agency. Drew Brees is going to hit free agency. Phillip Rivers already going to be looking for another team to play with. Includes Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, Ryan Tannehill, a number of quarterbacks. We're talking about legitimately 12 teams in a 30-team league could have different quarterbacks to start the 2020 season, and Taysom Hill wants to be one of them. He told the Associated Press that he loves New Orleans, he loves Sean Payton, he loves Joe Lombardi, and he really, really wants to be a starting quarterback in this league. You'll know that Taysom Hill is their Swiss Army knife on offense and special teams. Taysom Hill will line up at slot, he will line up at tight end, he will line up at tailback, he will play special teams, and he'll throw a touchdown pass for you. As a matter of fact, he got to show off his arm against the Minnesota Vikings in a playoff game in which they took Drew Brees out of the game because he's throwing ducks. And Taysom Hill was unleashing 50-yard bombs. Many of us that follow the Big 12 closely also remember Taysom Hill is the dude that got Manny Diaz fired as the defense coordinator at Texas because, his BYU Cougars ran all over Texas and Taysom Hill terrorized Manny Diaz. He gets into the NFL and kind of carves out a niche for Sean Payton as that do-everything player. But now that he, as a restricted free agent, is saying, hey, make me the quarterback or I'm going to go somewhere else where they are, I'm interested to see what the Saints are going to do because 41-year-old Drew Brees has made it known he's either going to play for the Saints in 2020 or he's going to retire. Teddy Bridgewater also hits free agency. He is the backup quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. You'll remember Teddy Bridgewater also won 5 games for the Saints while Drew Brees was out with the hand injury. And we all thought that Drew Brees would finish the season strongly, but he didn't look great in those playoff games. I think his age is catching up with him, and it might be time for Teddy Bridgewater to assume the controls, and you would love to have Taysom Hill there as an option. I think it's stupid to think that you're going to run some sort of offense like the one that is run in Baltimore with Taysom Hill in the way that they run it with Lamar, because that's just not what you have to do. You have a franchise quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater, or you can just keep riding the Drew Brees bus because he finished in the top 3 in quarterback rating, in passer rating, in yards adjusted per attempt. He's really good. He's just not really great. And perhaps he might be really expensive. But how does that affect Jalen Hurts? Well, I have been a proponent of Jalen Hurts getting into the NFL and trying to make it fit wherever he fits. He's also made it clear that he's a quarterback, so fine. Go in as a quarterback. But as we had these conversations about what quarterbacks can do and what they can't do in a mobile quarterback league, I had a discussion on my radio show earlier this morning with my producer, Patrick Masick, and we were talking about Michigan State. And we were talking about how they were good at one point in time when they had Brian Hoyer, Connor Cook, and Kirk Cousins, to which I said, those are all just dudes. Those aren't good NFL quarterbacks. Those are just quarterbacks. He's saying, they did play some games in the NFL, and Kirk Cousins signed a large contract and is the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings who did really well. And I said, I would take Taysom Hill over Kirk Cousins because Kirk Cousins does not provide me an advantage in a way that makes him unique to quarterbacks. When Dalvin Cook was not able to run the football for the Minnesota Vikings, Kirk Cousins looked real pedestrian and also kind of bad, even though he had Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, and Kyle Rudolph at his disposal. Okay? You got to be able to make it work with those guys because that's an elite skill position group. What you cannot do if you're Kirk Cousins is take off and run with the football. You can't escape pocket pressure. You're not terribly mobile, and you can't make up for what is probably a not great offensive line across the league. Taysom Hill, like Deshaun Watson, like Patrick Mahomes, like Lamar Jackson, allows you to cover up some mistakes that are going to be made by your offensive line because one of the things that you'll hear NFL coaches say all the time is, we have a hard time developing offensive linemen. Offensive line play is not where we need it to be. One, it takes all kinds of reps as a fivesome to get that understanding, but also you just got to be a better player, right? And if you don't have better players, you need to be able to make up for that deficiency. One way to do that is with a mobile quarterback, and that's what Jalen Hurts can provide you that many quarterbacks in this league cannot, and some of the quarterbacks in the draft cannot. Jalen Hurts is a much more mobile quarterback than Justin Herbert, though Justin Herbert is a mobile quarterback. Jalen Hurts is a much more mobile quarterback than Jake Fromm. He's as mobile as Jordan Love. You're going to need to be able to do all of those things that require moving around with the football, as well as throwing the pass 50 yards downfield. And I find all of that to be fascinating as we head into not just the NFL draft in April, but free agency when it begins in March. So seeing where these quarterbacks land is going to tell us a lot about how the league feels about aging quarterbacks and about quarterbacks who perhaps cannot make anything happen when there's just not a throw to be made and have to throw the ball out of bounds. And there's a number of quarterbacks on the list that meet that. Ryan Tannehill is not, though. He's one of those guys that can move around. Jameis Winston, pick machine, but also can move around. Tom Brady, we'll see. You're probably going to pay Tom Brady for what he's already done, not what he can do with you. The same thing goes for Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers. Those are three quarterbacks that I basically grew up watching play in the NFL and at North Carolina State and at Purdue. And man, yeah, I did see Ben Roethlisberger with the Miami of Ohio. Man, nobody saw Tom Brady play at Michigan. If you did, you're lying, or you're just that diehard Michigan fan that watched that one game. I think that as we continue to have these conversations about what quarterbacks are going to do, I'm going to look at it the way that I look at recruiting with quarterbacks, which is usually the best quarterback picks a spot, and then you see a domino effect of other quarterbacks choosing where they're going to go. Sam Heward has already picked Washington. Brock Vandagriff picked Oklahoma and then later picked Georgia. We'll see what Caleb Williams decides to do with Scott Linehan as the new passing game coordinator after having a relationship with Joe Brady and having nearly daily contact with Lincoln Riley. In another upload, I'm going to touch on that. But I did want to say that it's interesting that all the quarterbacks really believe that they're quarterbacks first. But I'll add this. I was a freshman coach for a very brief time at Tulsa Memorial where I graduated. And we had a guy on our freshman team by the name of DeMarco Cobbs. Texas fans will know DeMarco Cobbs because he played some linebacker, right? But he was the best player on the team. And I thought that he should play quarterback because he's the best player on the team. To which I was told, hey, RJ, we're going to let this other kid play quarterback because DeMarco is our best playmaker and we need somebody out on the outside that can make plays. And we don't necessarily need that out of the quarterback position if we have DeMarco out there making plays. To which became clear to me. If you can do a number of different things, they're probably not going to let you play quarterback. But that's also been the knock on black quarterbacks is they make for better running backs and wide receivers. When really some of these guys are just outstanding thinkers of the game. They're outstanding athletes as well, but they can think through the game in a way that many folks can't. But that's not because they're especially smart. It's because they've been playing quarterback their entire lives. And in the case of many of them, that's the difference between being a great quarterback and just a good athlete playing quarterback. Now, DeMarco ends up transferring to Central, ends up at Texas, and I'm very happy for him. And I was happy to get to watch him develop and play. But you should think about that if you are Taysom Hill and you're going to force the Saints' hands, or you're Jalen Hurts and you're going to slip down the draft board and get drafted as a quarterback who's going to get asked maybe to do something else. And whether or not you say yes or no is completely a personal choice. But these are all things that NFL general managers and personnel directors are thinking about. What else can you do? And are you the guy at quarterback because we need a better athlete? Or are you the guy at quarterback because we have other athletes and we need a distributor of the football? Be that as it may, I think that quarterback is quarterback. Deuces.